Hello, everybody. This is Maniac 4Bricks, and this is a listening piece, a thought piece, if you will. There's something to put on the background while you're doing other things, and just have something to listen to fill the empty space. And hopefully, it's something that could stem some discussion, and you can come back sometime and check out the links in the description because there are no visuals on screen. It's all in the description about each of the items I want to talk about or things I find interesting after the fact that you can learn a little bit more about. Um, I'm not going to say my opinion is perfect. I'm just putting my opinion out there. This is just something from my personal experience of trying to share about a topic. So you may find it a different way. It may find it more appealing to you, which is actually the crux of the video. So I appreciate if you leave your comments down below for what you think about this subject, whether or not my opinion resonates with you. So price per piece ratio is an often used term for the value of a Lego set in, that's released. People will look at a set for the number of pieces and the price, some independently from each other, and they will determine if that's worth buying. They will determine also based off of, the look of the set, the play features, the gimmicks, the exclusive figures, and other factors. But the one thing that most people boil down to is price per piece ratio. This is something that's been around for, I want to say, over 10 years that people have judged Lego products on, especially when they're just about the building. Separate from other merchandise that Lego produces, like books or movies or whatever. When it comes to price per piece ratio, most people will identify that you're getting a good value if the set has an even divided ratio of 10 cents per piece. So to break this into another perspective, say that you're looking at a set that's in the store that has 500 pieces for $50. That is 10 cents per piece. That is a good price per piece ratio. If it has more than 500 pieces for $50, you're getting a better deal. You're getting a better value. If it has less than that, some people will argue that you are getting a bad value. But you have to look at what you're building itself, what you're going to do with it, and what is it worth to put it together, and what you're going to use it. Like when it is put together, how are you going to use it? Because all these things are different from person to person. That's why I was saying before, your opinion matters, your perspective matters. It's going to vary from person to person. I've bought Lego sets where I didn't concern myself with certain factors and looked at other things that maybe other people didn't care for or didn't share the same way that I did. And I found more value for me personally out of that set. So, price per piece ratio, 10 cents per piece, while it sounds great, and there has been a period where this kind of developed where Lego sets tended to be in that way. Oh, I find a $30 set in the store, it has about 300 pieces, therefore Lego is trying to market the sets at a 10 cent or so price per piece ratio. It does come with some research in some ways people have observed it over time, but it's not optimal. It's not law. There are definitely ways where people and Lego will see a set in better or worse value based on the pieces and based on other factors. So let me start with the 10 cents per piece thing. Some Lego sets are considered to have a bad value if they have less than 10 cents, or if they have more than 10 cents per piece. We also have to look at the pieces themselves. Something like Lego Super Mario that is coming out later this year has already been unveiled. They've had prices listed. They've had piece counts listed. Those are important for people when it comes to, do I want to buy it? Some have already pre-ordered it, and some have already sold out on pre-ordering. But you have to look at a couple of things outside of the price per piece ratio. One of the sets is $60 and has 200 pieces. That sounds no good. If you compare that price to a Nintendo product, like one of the Nintendo products, like a video game, $60 will get you a full Switch game. That sounds good and all, and typically video games cost $60 or so when they're first released. So it sounds like you're going to get a lot of value out of that because you get a full experience. You get a full thing from start to finish. You get to play through. It'll give you a number of hours available to play it and different things to do in the game other than just one specific thing. It's not like the old days of video games where you get from point A to point B and there's nothing else to it. Nowadays, video games have a lot more features into them about how to play the game itself or bonus content. $60 for a Lego set that is based on a video game like Super Mario doesn't sound that great in comparison, but you have to look at it a different thing. You're looking at an interactive board game-like experience with the Lego set because they included an electronic in there that interacts with certain elements in the set and treats it as if it was like the video game, but you're playing with it in hand, not digitally. So is it worth it? I don't know. I think it varies from person to person. For me, I'm holding off on it for a bit, also because it's sold out. But I'm holding off on it for a bit for that price. But if I look at the other stuff and if I see there's an offer where it could add a little bit more to it, maybe it'll be better. Sorry about that. I'm also holding off because the idea of pre-ordering anything right now that's going to release in August when the here and now is kind of uncertain and the future is a little uncertain, I just don't want to throw my money at something that I find a little unnecessary right now, and I can save that for what's needed now. So moving on from that. For that particular set, maybe it doesn't sound good, but you also have to look at what's in it. To the average consumer, it's probably not going to be worth their value. To a Lego fan, if they know the pieces, they're going to understand there's a lot of new pieces included in this set, particularly made to fit in the Super Mario aesthetic. There is the electronic Mario figure itself that obviously is going to cost more than a Lego piece to produce and function, even if it has a specific function to it or certain things it can be used for that others may not. It's not going to work. It's not going to be valued. It's not going to be treated the same way, price per piece ratio, as other Lego pieces in the same set. There is more you can do with one thing versus another. There are other Lego sets, especially from the Juniors and Duplo line, where it looks like you're getting you have to spend a lot more money for not a lot of pieces. You have to look at some of those and see that they are bigger pieces for particular purposes. For younger kids, they need to have larger products, toys in general, so that A, they don't choke on them, B, so it's easier for them to grab. They don't have as they have I know there's a word in psychology for it. The difference between gross motor skills and fine motor skills. These are about the way that you can move parts of your body. So fine motor skills are the things we as teens, adults, most people have. These are ways of very particularly moving your fingers, your legs, all your appendages around. And grab stuff very specifically, Whereas gross motor skills are just the basic movement of one limb in a direction, but not getting the finer detail, the finer grip to it. For kids, for toddlers, for infants, they have a lot more of that kind. They have the gross motor skills. They are not going to particularly clamp onto something the way that an adult would. They're going to have like just a basic movement of a finger, not every single joint in the finger. With that, they need larger toys in order to grab that stuff more easily. If they have something smaller, you have to pinch and really move a lot more muscles than they're able to do. I'm bringing this up because that's what makes a kid, that's what makes a product for a younger kid cost more, because you're making something out of bigger plastic, a bigger material. Duplo bricks are twice the size of Lego bricks. That's twice as much plastic, roughly, to use to make a single piece. So you're not going to produce 300, or you're not going to produce 20 Duplo pieces as you're going to produce 20 system Lego pieces. The system being the standard Lego system of pieces that are made and interacted with. It's not going to cost the same amount of plastic. And it's not going to cost the same amount of money either. So that's why you're going to see a lot less pieces in a Duplo set cost a lot of money compared to a standard Lego set for, the same amount of money. that has to be factored in. And usually people don't nitpick about that stuff, but I just want to point out that price per piece ratio is not going to apply for things like that. Juniors is another example of that, where it's an integration from Duplo into system, because you have larger elements for pieces. You have like a pre-established boat piece instead of making it out of 10 to 15 pieces or whatever. It's, you have the hull and you have the top. That's one, two giant pieces that are made. So it's going to cost more, and therefore the price will reflect that when the set goes out. So moving on from that, there are also examples where people value something on one element or one part of a set over the rest of the set. And like I said, it's going to vary from person to person on how they value a product. I already said that before. But if you're throwing out everything else in the set, in the product, then you're not looking at the price the right way. I've seen it numerous times over the years where people look at a Lego book with minifigure and they want the minifigure, but they don't like the price. You're not paying $18 for a minifigure, because even if that's what you want, even if that's the main thing and the book doesn't mean anything to you, it doesn't have any value, you are paying $18 for the figure, but it's not worth $18 for the figure. 9 times out of 10, you can find the figure sometime afterward on the black market for less than $18 or $20 or whatever much the book and minifigure cost. Remember, you're paying for a book. You're buying a book, and the minifigure is a treat, an enticement. The book is the main thing, even if it's not the thing that you want. I saw a post not too long before this that brought this up for me. That's why I'm mentioning it on here, where somebody bought a Star Wars book that had a Darth Maul figure included with it, presumably an exclusive print or variant or something, and they took the figure out of the book and then they threw the book in the garbage. I have no idea if this was a joke, but it looks like it could be. It looks like it could also be someone's honest opinion. I've actually seen people post online when they buy this stuff that they spent $18 on a figure and got a free book. You're looking at it the wrong way, because the book is the thing they want to put out in the market, and the minifigure is there as a treat, as an enticement. People will look at the Razor Crest set from Star Wars coming out later this year, and they want the Yoda minifigure. That's the main attraction. But there's still a rest of the there's a rest of the set that people need to know is out there. You have a vehicle, you're building a ship, you have other figures included with it, you have play features to make the ship open up and move things around and sit minifigures in different parts of the ship. You're not paying $130 for a Baby Yoda figure. I'm sorry. If you want a Baby Yoda figure on its own and you don't care for the rest of the thing, wait for the black market. You'll find it cheaper. I'm sure of it. Probably won't find it cheap, but you'll find it cheaper than $130. If that's the thing you want the most. If you can find ways of using the rest of it, by all means, go for the set. Another good example here is Ninjago City from Lego Ninjago, based on the movie. This was released in 2017, and it's a massive set. It stands almost 2 feet tall with almost a foot wide and a foot deep. It's about 10 inches or so on each side. The set is 4,867 pieces. And remember, another thing that's important about piece count, that includes minifigure pieces. That includes elements like cloths or thread, things that are added into the set for textile purposes. Minifigures are also part of that cost. It's not you're getting this many figures and these many pieces. The pieces include the figures, head, torso, legs, hairpiece, whatever. You can tell because it says it in the back of the instructions if you count all that up. 4,867 pieces for $300 United States manufacturer suggested retail price. That's pretty big. That's pretty important. It's a big model for $300. And here's the thing. It's a $300 build-it-yourself playset. It is something you could add as a sculpture, have it as a display piece. Many people do. I have it like that currently. Some people may integrate it into other things. Some people may modify it itself or add those parts to some other model they want to build. And that's totally fine. Some people may get more out of the play features than other people will. If you're judging it on price per piece alone, it's a good value because $300 would, in the optimal price per piece ratio of 10 cents per piece, would give you 3,000 pieces. So you're looking at something that has more pieces than that for $300, like as opposed to it being a $500 Lego set or a $400 Lego set. $300 is still a lot to put down for an individual Lego set, but this is a massive set. This is something that has a lot of pieces to it, a lot of integration, a lot of detail, a lot of texture. Like I said before, a lot of play features. You have different levels of moving things around. You have different areas. You can move the minifigures. You can take things apart and rearrange them. You can, move things inside of the set itself. Like there's an ATM that works where it actually spits out money. A lot of other features I can't all go into in this video. And it really depends on the person if it's worth it. I bought it day one for $300. I had $300 on me. I was very excited about the look of the set and the feel of the set and the play of the set. I was okay with the figures. I wasn't worried about the variants or anything like that, but I thought the number of figures for what you're playing inside of was good. It took me 15 hours to build it initially. And 15 hours is a lot of time to dedicate to one product. Even if we go back to the video game thing from before, you have a $60 game that's going to allow you a certain amount of hours to put into it, to play with it, to understand what you can do in the game and trying to get through the game if it has an objective, 15 hours for one Lego set may sound like a lot, but you're talking about 15 hours for almost a 5,000 piece Lego set. Some people finish it in 10 hours. And that's, also another thing. It's going to vary from person to person on how well they're going to get through this thing. I've heard it as a customer in the same aisle as parents and parents with kids about Lego sets, about the cost of it and about the price of it independently from each other. Not the price per piece ratio. They rarely talk about that. They normally talk about one or the other. And a lot of times when parents talk about the pieces, they talk about, are you going to get to finish this build? Like talking to their kid, there's a lot of pieces that could get scattered and you won't be able to complete it if you don't focus on it. A lot of Lego sets nowadays have the luxury of being broken up into certain number bags. So you don't have to open all those bags at once and you get to more systematically build something. You don't even have to build in the same sitting. I didn't for Ninjago City. That was like 7 or more bags numbered specifically for different parts of the instructions. And I built that over the course of 2 days. It was 15 hours, but it was broken up between the 2 days. And I also had some talking in between, so it kind of little tangent here and there. But anywho, that's important as well. Like, okay, is the kid going to finish building the thing? Are they going to play with it as well? Some parents will say, we already have this thing at home. If it's a certain variant of a figure, you may not need another one. Kids aren't going to look into the variant of something as much as adults and teens are, especially from a collector aspect. Oh, I want this particular Spider-Man figure from Civil War, as opposed to the Spider-Man figure I can find in a 30-piece set, All I'm saying is that price per piece ratio is not the end all be all of a set's value. You determine the value for yourself as to what the product is worth. Jang Bricks, a well-known Lego YouTuber and reviewer, is one example of breaking down a set based on its components, based on what you're playing with, how you can interact with the different models that are being played with. The depth of those models, how those pieces will make something look more authentic or have some style or have some color to it. He'll break down if they were sold independently, what would they approximately cost, or what would be reasonable for them to cost. That's also his opinion. Reviews, when you're looking up reviews of something online, it is from one person's perspective. And while may try to have like an unbiased opinion, there are going to be things that they like more than others and will emphasize on more than others. So it is also important that when you're looking at a product and you're not sure about buying it, you look through multiple reviews of them to get an idea about different perspectives and see which ones align up the best with you. You can follow that person if you want to, if that mindset of Lego products in general or whatever products you're looking at fits your bill, and change it over time if you change over time as well. So I think I've said enough for the soapbox. I'm not here to say you shouldn't ever look at something price per piece. I feel like it's only if you want it that way. Some people will buy something and keep it as that model indefinitely, or they'll build it as that one thing like it's a puzzle. You want to see the completed result, and you'll put it up on a shelf like I did for Ninjago City. So there's that to factor in as well. Thank you for watching this video. Hope you guys enjoyed it. I hope it was something that was worth entertaining or worth listening to. Hopefully it opened up some perspective for you. I'd love to hear what you think in the comments down below. We'll see you next time with more videos, with more listening pieces like this. I wouldn't call them podcasts because it's very informal. Even though I do have a topic and I have some examples to add to the topic, it's not structured the way I would think of a podcast. Again, that's my opinion. So, I'll see you next time. Have a good one. Take care.